Now we will go on to the last section, which is obviously the ugly. Now, Nero, what is ugly right now in CS?
Well, I think it's kind of a niche role style complaint, but for a long time in CS, we've always thought, the star players are your passive lurkers and your awpers, right? So that's always been the way. And I think in CS2 especially, I think it was probably happening at the end of CSGO as well. You want your best player to be, and I think this is maybe just Nico's cultural impact a little bit. You want your best player to be your opener now instead. And I think more and more when you see teams being built, you don't want your aggressive player to not be your best player, because the earlier in the round you can have their impact, the better, right? And I think people still talk about someone like Ema, right? And they say on T side, it's a difficult role. It's a difficult role to be Ema on T side. And these space takers actually, like, it's the highest rating average on most maps. It's the person in the middle of the map taking these jewels because they're the ones being set up. And instead of having your in-game leader jump around a corner, now we want our best players to be taking gunfights with the helper utility and stuff. And I think it's just led to generally aggressive players sometimes are actually being a little bit overrated, I think. And I think maybe this is partly our fault because rating 2.1 nerfed awpers so much while not really adjusting some like 25 damage assist things. So riflers have a bit of a helping hand at the moment, right? But this is something where these aggressive riflers can have bad maps and everyone says, oh, it's a hard role. Like, no, I think you need to be looking at the team space taker and the team's awper. And if they're not performing, then that's a huge reason why you're losing. Because if you're in a 4v5, right, like the round's nearly over. Like, no one wants to accept it, but this is like 30%. Like, you this is really bad. If you're someone like Xantara's having an off game, like, you lose that game in a way that Rop's having an off game doesn't necessarily lose you that game. So I think there needs to be more scrutiny on aggressive players in the same way that, if Wonderful or Shiro miss a lot of AWP shots, okay, there's 18,000 Reddit threads about them because it's like, oh, passive AWPers, they just farm rating, they're crap. Sure. But if these aggressive riflers go 1 and 5 in openers on a decider, no one cares. No one notices. It's like, oh, well, he still had like 80 ADR, so he probably had an all right game. It's like, no, like, this is your job. Your job is to take map control and make these aggressive lurk timings because they're not entry fraggers anymore. Like, you're basically in the late round, it's the lurkers that entry, and you're still in mid and you've got time to make like an aggressive timing play. Like that's what Xerxes, Ema, Nico, that's what they all do. They become lurkers late round. And that is your star player now. And I think people need to wake up to that fact and start treating more of these players like star players. Like, obviously we give the star treatment to a lot of them, but I think pretty much every team now, like, it's also the donk effect a little bit as well, is these space takers are your star players. They're in the star roles on T and CT side. And I think at the moment people only think of it in a CT side basis.
So what's the like succinct
perception that aggressive rifling is harder or worse, but it's actually the opposite. Like British, he essentially said it to me in a DM a while ago. In the modern day, when people go and Donk's doing it from the aggressive, it's like, no, in CS2 that is better than being like the lurker. Like, essentially, you'd rather be Donk than play F in CS2, regardless of skill level.
Yeah, well, Blaber plays those roles as well, right? Like, he's in those face taking roles because it's the best place to do the lurks from. I think if I was going to sum it up quickly, I'd just say, like, if I was an up and coming player, I'd want to be playing space taking roles. I don't want to be lurking because the lurker is now the support player, right? So Rops is an overqualified support player, basically, because he's anchoring CT and lurking T. Like, if you're having full synergy and building a roster from scratch, you've got, like, your third star is now the Rops type player, and you want your best rifler to be in Nerds roles. Like, it's the exact Nerds transition from lurker to space taker, because that's now where you want your best player to be all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I have a take on this based off of just kind of like, I mean, I still play a lot of CS. Like, like, my friends and I we nerfed ourselves. We actually play ESC intermediate, and we actually just forfeited all of our playoff matches after we did like a huge upset in the first round of playoffs, but then we're like, oh, we don't actually want to make main because it's a little too try hard. So we just kind of like farming intermediate over and over again. And I'll say, like, we've like lightly structured our team. We don't bring a shitload of stuff to the table. We just have like a couple execs. We just like kind of do stuff on the fly, but we have roles. And I will say, like, nobody wants to op, like, ever, because like even if we play a lot of CS, we all just are like, it still feels a little worse than it did in CS:GO. And we actually all like to like take space. Yeah. Like, I think naturally right now, it is the best feeling thing to do in CS is taking space, and that's actually different than how I used to view it in CS:GO. Like in CS:GO, I felt like the easiest role by far was lurking, and lurking was so easy in CS:GO. Like punishing people that were swinging into your crosshair in that game felt so like it just felt like the head model was bigger or something, and the models moved slower, and it was just more receptive to like holding an angle. But now I don't feel like the game is as good at doing that. Like I don't know if that's a sub-tick thing. I don't know if it might be partly the net code or whatever. But I will say like the guy that's like positioned in a lurk position oftentimes has a little bit more trouble than he used to. And also the awpers are just like I'm never really even scared of awpers anymore. Like I think that's probably like the Smooya effect or whatever in NA. It's like I don't know, it just like they just don't feel that strong anymore. So I guess there's an interesting conversation to be had here that whereas before I founded a lot of my Counter-Strike like CS:GO principles on like aggro rifling and entry fragging is the hardest role in this game. I believed that for like my entire time. I don't know. I think opping's actually gotten harder. I think anchoring's always been hard, but it's extremely hard in CS2. And I think it's a cool conversation to have because I don't know if rating like is in the wrong. Like I generally feel like when I see rating, yes, like map to map, sometimes I'm like, how did NQZ do better than Davideus here? Like that doesn't compute with anything I just saw on the screen. But he still obviously was good. But for his rating to be better than him, like I'd say over the course of like a significant sample size, like 10 plus maps, I feel like I will generally agree with it on like 80% of the maps for who was the most impactful player. So I think it's generally in the right there. But I don't know. Like I guess aggro riflers being overvalued. I still think it's the most important thing in the game. Like if you get like winning a 1v1 versus winning a 5v5 opening kill, I kind of like the guy that's getting me the 5v4 all the time because then my chance to win the round is like 80% if I'm a really good team. So
I think that's kind of the exact point. I think is that is what you want your best player doing now. You don't want them to be waiting for your less skilled players to die. And I think the flip side I probably didn't emphasize enough is that I do think passive AWPers are generally kind of underrated in the community now. I think maybe because I think it's too easy to hate on someone like Shiro when getting one kill around and not dying is like you're just making your team so much better. Yeah. It's insanely valuable, and like it's an expensive gun. I don't want wrinkle jumping around corners.
Yep.
I want my best players to be riflers because the AK is the best gun in CS2.
Yes.
And then I want my awper to be a stable player that I know I can rely on. And yes, if you're missing loads of shots, then I think like that's obviously really bad. But for someone like Shiro, who is so good on a rifle as well, and I think someone like Shiro is underrated. Like that could have been a point as well. I think it's the classic overshadowed by dunk thing, but yeah. I had a quick look at the last few points, but
it was essentially like he's the Russian device argument, if you know the old one.
Yeah, I remember
that's
that.
That's why Yanko dislikes Shiro also.
That's why Yanko it's unironically the same argument. Yes, it's the same preference, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to understand, from scratch.
Yanko's doing that thing, by the way, where he's just doing his machismo fucking Serbian thing of like, he's a fucking pussy, just fucking, bro, just take the peak. Like, listen, but that's what we love about Yanko. He also has his own personality that we know all the idiosyncrasies of it.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I think, and this is another thing for rating, is that, like, the new rating, like, win probability on its own makes mincemeat of these riflers, because it just doesn't, like, if you just give away a 5v4, it just hates you forever, basically. So I think I'm going to have to look at it and find ways to reward aggressive players much more than Leafy does, for example. I think that's the key balance we want to strike, is between overrating, well, not overrating, but getting that balance between AWPers and riflers a little bit better than 2.1 does or Leafy does, because I think there's a world where you can overrate either of them, and it's very difficult. But yeah, because I think it's the device fan of me as well. Like, I do like passive AWPers. I just do like it. I think if I was building a team from scratch, I'd want a passive AWPer. I'd rather have crazy riflers and then have an AWPer as a closer, because what would you rather have in a clutch? You'd rather have an AWPer most of the time.
There's a reason Cadian did that the whole time.
Yeah, like, he's betting his tits off. But if you're going to win 1v3s every other map, then
works.
Sure, like, why not? It works.
By the way, on that angle, that's the area where it's hilarious that people like pick up slogans. So you know how all the talent kept saying, like, it's not CSGO anymore, bro, about all the great players who dropped off, oftentimes, by the way, because they were passive players, they were lurkers, etc. What's hilarious is the same people then just went, like, what is it called? The Gelman effect or whatever, where when they just looked at all the players doing well, we're like, and these are the best players in the world. It's like, do you actually imagine, by the way, if you watched CSGO, Spinks was a much better player than Flames. But the reason why you think Flames is better than Spinks is because his role is more apt to actually get all these fucking frags and to take over a game and look like the reason they won the map. Think of some of these players that were like the best players last year. So you had Nico, Donk, Exertion, Flames, like... I know people in teams would tell you, like, maybe they think Imfat's better than Exertion. Maybe they think Spinks is better than Flames. But the point is, the stats reward and also having a big game and the eye test. When people say that, by the way, they mean I saw something exciting, a highlight. The problem with Shiro is the OP thing he does is what you don't see, is that he doesn't die needlessly. That sounds shit, but there's a reason why. I had a famous saying about Device, that he is like every coach's wet dream awper, because he never ever does the stupid peak that he just gets killed instantly, like on the shoulder when he's on Inferno or something. And then also, he doesn't just pointlessly go for a 1v4 he can't win. He saves every AWP, and you just buy like 2.5 less AWPs every game. You have to understand, people like Zonic cream themselves over shit like that. That's unbelievable. Like the floor raising you're doing there, and like the holes in the boat that you're plugging are fucking nuts. But yeah, I agree with you. Essentially, this is why we also have to consider that CS2 is different from CSGO, because if you played CS2, if you put the CS2 engine into CSGO, we go back in a time machine, it's just CS2 from the beginning. I can tell you a couple of things immediately that would happen. So you know Forrest, he's actually the GOAT of CSGO initially, not Get Right. Then if you go into that Cold Zero team, you know when Cold Zero won everything, Fur is the best player in the world, mate, not Cold Zero. Like, Fur was fucking unbelievable at the shit he was doing. But the point is, in those games, that's where Maui's right. That actually was where you were doing the harder role. That was the role that was less rewarded, and it just wasn't as OP. Like, actually, the guy holding the angle kills Fur a bunch of times when he goes around that corner. So yeah, I agree with the point in general. By the way, just because you snubbed him from his EVP, I'll even point out, to give one last example, believe it or not, Apex, even when he was a mega entry fragger, the best in the world, never ever won a single HLTV MVP. And that's because back then he had Shocks or Kenny S or fucking even MBKs like a lurker. Like, you have to understand, he had some performances where he would just drop like 25 on 2 T sides. Like, that would have been like MVP or EVP in this modern world. Like, he would have actually been rewarded for being the Exertion of his day, if you don't know. So... see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.